Customer journeys are the collection of events where customers interact with the products that we build. So it's the small buttons and the big experiences. It's everything from the first second they hear about your product and the time when they use the button to let it go and churn and decide to leave. So if we do our work the right way, customers and users stay with us for longer. But if we don't, this is where we miss them. And this is why it's so important for all product managers around to master this task of journeys done right. And this is exactly why we meet here today for this Practical Wednesday session, where we, Product League, are going to support you in becoming the best product manager you can be. Product League is an international mentoring program for product managers by product managers in 30 countries around the world. I'm Maria Cassis. I'm the founder and general manager, and I want to get to know you. So please go ahead and tell us in the chat where you are from. What is it that you do? What's your name? Let me meet you and turn this into our little product party. So go ahead, hit the like button, comment, and let's start because I'm eager to meet our speaker for today. Joining us live from Columbus, Ohio is Nomiki Petrolla, fractional head of product and founder of PDS Lab. Hello, what's up?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you here with us. So excited to learn from you. So excited to talk about customer journeys and experiences and the challenges and opportunities that come with that. And I hope that you are ready because our audience, the leaguers, are here with questions and comments and suggestions and ideas and so many ways to interact with you. So how is your day going on?
Hi, it's great. I'm excited to be here and to get all these product minds in one spot and hear all these suggestions and learn from you guys too. That's the beauty of product, that we all get to learn together. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is mine. So happy to see you and to have you here with us. And let's see who is joining us here in the audience. So we have Tal joining us from Tel Aviv. We have Barak. We have Tal that I mentioned. We have Eran joining us from Israel. We have Audrey joining us from Stuttgart, Germany, our own leaguer. We have Alon. We have Desmond joining us here as well, and so many others are here in the chat joining. Guys, keep on commenting, keep on interacting with us. This is going to be a super interactive session, so get prepared. We want to get to know you, and we want to get to know what is on your mind and heart when it comes to customer journeys done right. This is why we are here, right, Nomiki?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Nice to meet everyone over there. I see some US and all over the world. That's really exciting.
Very excited indeed. So shall we start?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. The stage is yours. Can't wait to learn from you, and let's get it started.
Awesome. Hi, guys. So I'm going to be talking about customer journeys or customer experiences today. This is an interactive session, so I would love to hear your comments when we get through challenges and our polls. Ultimately, we all learn best when we're sharing. So let's get to it. All right. So my name is Nomiki. As Moira mentioned, I primarily work in startups. Seed stage companies, but I started out as a product designer. So I went to school for graphic design, and I was in product design for more than half of my career. I wanted more. So I started learning about QA, analytics, and ops, and I moved into those roles. And then eventually I learned so much about building businesses that I wanted to go into product management. I love product development. So that's where the latter half of my career has been in for software startups. I've worked in a variety of industries, B2B and B2C. I'm now a consultant, so I don't work for one company, but I work for multiple, and they're in all types of industries. So fintech, femtech, delivery, machine learning in general. So I've built some products that are a wide array of industries, and I think that's made me well-versed in how to build customer experiences, aligned with me being a product designer at heart. So where are customer journeys? Customers are literally at the epicenter of everything you build. So no matter what it is, whether it's your software whether it's your email flows, whatever it is, customers are at the center of that. So they interact for your brand, not just in the product journey, and they interact with everything. They click on your website, emails, their profile, their cart, they're shopping, they're searching, they're finding you on TikTok, their customer support, ads, etc. So customer journeys are not just around what we're building, but they're the comprehensive view of the experience with your brand. So first challenge, what is your most recent frustrating experience with software? This can be at the macro or micro level. Share in the chat. We want to hear about your frustrating experience that you can remember. Moira, feel free to pop some up on the screen. I'm going to move on. Okay, so poor experiences are literally everywhere. When I talk about poor experiences at the macro level, I unfortunately don't give them the chance. If I have a poor customer experience from signing up for software, I will just stop using it. So I'm going to go through an example of a micro opportunity here and talk about how improvement is better than perfection. So this is my account with YNAB. YNAB is a budgeting tool. I'm a mom of 4 and I have a spouse as well as 2 dogs. So budgeting is ingrained in my being and I have to do it every single day. I love this tool. I am not affiliated with them. I just love them. One thing that they do is they partner with Plaid. If you're not familiar with Plaid, I'm sure you all are. They're the market leader in terms of connecting banks to your accounts. One thing that I've recently been experienced with my software in YNAB is that you see these little keys over there, it tells me to reauthorize. And the problem with this is that every time I reauthorize every single bank account, it's 10 extra steps. So when I'm budgeting every single day, I actually have to click agree, go through 10 steps for all of my bank accounts. That takes 3 or 4 minutes, which seems really minuscule during it, but it's actually a painful experience because I have to do it weekly. And you can see all these details. It's between going from YNAB into your account. I think I blocked all my information out. Then back to Plaid where you have to click on all these buttons, then back to YNAB, and then finally it's linked and I have that experience. So there's 10 steps that I have to repeat for every bank account, so all my credit cards, all my checking, before I get to the end, and then I can actually start budgeting. So how can we build solutions? One thing I want to call out is data. We're going to be talking about data later on in this presentation. But I feel like there has to be a way for these major companies to be collecting the data on me to determine the next step so that I don't have to authorize. You can see some data labels here. I've got last budget activity date. Did I change my email address as a Boolean? When's the last time I logged out? I've actually never logged out. Did I click forgot password attempts? Because if I do that multiple times, it's probably going to trigger some fraudulent activity. When's the last time I logged with customer support? Am I having consistent issues, etc.? So these are all data points that I could be using to synthesize what's going on and to build a better experience. So we're going to talk about machine learning later on, but in this example, I'm using at the high level, pulling all of my data inputs into a model. This again is just an example. This is one example of a model. There's many models. So if there's any machine learning experts out there, don't come for me. I'm just doing this for presentation purposes. And what I want to show is that if we use something to use our data to distribute a better experience, maybe in this example, it can trigger an automatic reauthorize or a manual reauthorize. So manual meaning maybe it's telling me that they think I'm suspicious and they want me to go through the whole process. Or automatic, I can confirm, no, it's me, let's go, and then my experience is better. So let's talk about your loved experience. I see all of these bad experiences, authentication, waiting for Eventbrite to send a password. It's probably in your spam. Determining where a journey actually starts. There's lots of great examples, so thank you. Let's move on to now your favorite experiences. I'm sure you all have them, which keeps you coming back for more. It can be, again, at the macro or micro level. And I'm going to go on to one of my favorite experiences. So again, I mentioned that I'm a mom, and we have to solve for the good and the bad ones. And when I say I'm a mom, it means that I'm shopping at Target for my 4 kids, my dogs, and my husband, and myself, our groceries, our baby food, all the things that we need to survive. Target is at the forefront of technology and innovation for the target audience, moms, me, but also many other people that just want speed to results and speed to their, the products that they're purchasing. I'm going to go through 3 major events that have happened over the past 10 years. They have released so many features in their software, but these 3 have been major in terms of getting ahead of the industry. The first one is order pickup. In 2013, that was 10 years ago, they launched order pickup. You can order on your phone in the mobile application, and then you can go in the store and pick it up. That means you're saving time with going through the store. You don't have to walk around every aisle. You can do it while you're multitasking in your home. And then when you're out running errands, just go inside, pick them up, and bring it back to your car. After they released this, they had an increase of almost 2%, which doesn't seem that big. But when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, the impact that this has on businesses is massive. So that's a huge deal. The next thing that they did was amplifying that experience. Okay, people don't like coming into the store. They want to make it even faster. How do we get them in and out quicker? Well, let's add drive up. So in 2017, only 4 years later, they decided, okay, let's have curbside pickup where users can order and they don't have to get out of their car, and we will bring their products to them, their groceries, their food, their clothing, etc. And as you can see here, they grew to $75.3 billion. So their earnings are just amplified because they keep innovating on how to make this easier. One thing I want to call out about this in 2017, if anyone can sense, what I'm about to say, it was 3 years before COVID. So at COVID, when this was a major issue for every company, so Sam's Club, also frequent there often, and any other store that does it, they were first. So now you go to Lowe's, you pick up your things to build. They had to come up with a way that they could do it, not just for speed, but because they needed safety measures. And they were 3 years ahead of the curve, which I find fascinating. Okay, now, how are they so ahead of the curve? They just added a new feature in 2023 that when you go to drive up, you can now add Starbucks to your order. So not only will they come and bring you your groceries, but they will literally bring you a coffee. So when they're thinking about this experience, who cares if Starbucks costs $5 or $6 wherever you're living? They're making it easier for women to say, or partners, people that are buying from there, not just women, to purchase Starbucks. So let's add extra cash. Now, I don't have any numbers yet. They literally just released this. But one thing I want to call out about Target is that they have a program called 50 Days of Learning. What that means is that they invest in their people and their learning and their creativity so that they have a day each week that they can go innovate. They have hackathons, demos, they have brainstorm sessions with different people of different teams. And all of that fostered learning is actually coming from their 50 Days of Learning and really bringing this creativity and innovation to the industry. So I find that fascinating. Though Target is not perfect. So at the very, very, very micro level, Target also has things that they need to improve on. Yes, their experience for me and for many others is seamless, and I will always go back to them. They make my life literally so easy when I'm purchasing. But there is one nitpick that I make every single time I talk about Target. So as I mentioned, I have several children. I need to buy multiples of items. So no matter how big your company or your budget or your team is, there's always room to improve. So let's watch this little GIF real quick. And let me know if you, in the comments, if you see what I'm about to call out. That's a bad experience for me. I'm trying to buy a gallon of milk in this. I'm going to let it loop one more time. Okay, so if you caught up on it, the bad experience that I'm having is that I need to add multiple items to my cart. So in this case, a gallon of milk, and it forces me to click which one I want, either pick up or drive up. It closes the modal, and then I have to reopen it by tapping on the button to select multiples. So that's like 3 different avenues that I have to watch go up and down instead of just hitting yes or no, I want more. So how can we fix something like that? At the smallest scale, it's our job as product managers to make, yes, great customer experiences, holistic, and feel unified across all of our teams and our software. But it's also really important for us to look at the minute details like this. So I want to call out the example I'm about to give is just purely an example. I obviously don't have their data to say if this is a great idea or not. But for me, it is. So if I were them and I'm looking at Nomiki Petrolla's usage, I would say she always buys multiples of bananas and milk and bread. Let's give her an easy way to add to cart. And then instead of making her click the modal again, let's add a plus minus system. So I can tap that 3 times and it's over. So again, I don't have data, pure example, but these are things that we need to think about as product managers that make an impact on our customer experiences. So product managers, we fix problems at the core of our software. That is our job, is to look at things with a microscope and learn and come up with new ideas and solve customer experiences. One thing that I really like to do, I'm a type A individual. I know I was a designer, so that seems really off, but I'm type A, and everything for me, my brain works in order. So when I'm coming up and working with teams and founders on my companies that I work with, I need to follow a process. Otherwise, my brain does not really function. So what I'm going to talk about is, in this whole presentation, is starting with a core process that might look different for you and me. Data synthesis, which is critical for all of us. Personalization, so taking that to the next step. And then lastly, machine learning, really amplifying your experiences for your customers. So let's talk about the process. Use your product foundations to create experiences. I'm going to use the iceberg analogy. So you're probably most familiar with this analogy where growth happens. So at the bottom below the iceberg, it's all your failures and everything that you tried that didn't work. And the top of the iceberg is like, oh, this is what everyone sees. This is our success and I won. But they don't see everything that went under building that final success. I'm going to use that same analogy for building product and process. So at the bottom, I talk about mission and vision, and then data synthesis, software architecture, product development, the actual creation process, and then your customer experience, which is everyone that's seeing, your product, your end result. The first thing I want to talk about is mission. Follow your North Star. So your mission of your brand, your company, your business is truly what's going to drive how you serve your customers. This is hard for founders in small companies, mainly because you're not really sure what you're doing yet and you need to figure it out. But for medium to large companies, there is a pretty solid mission that's with your brand that you know what's going on and how you need to build to accommodate your customers. So as I mentioned, it's the North Side of product development. So there's questions that you need to ask yourself, like, does this idea serve my customers? Is it a new customer base, or is it the ones that I want to attract? How will this feature or product impact my business? And where will it fall in my current strategies? Is this a priority need? Is this something we need to push ourselves over? Or is this a want that, oh, I think that's cool, this person's doing it, I want to try that in our own software? Something to remember is that if it does not serve your mission, it's not worth building. So ask that question when you're coming up with your ideas to determine, should I build this? Should I invest my time and money into this, my team, their energy, everything that goes into building new features? If it doesn't align, I throw it out. Don't build it. And it's okay to do that because not all ideas are good ideas. Okay, product managers, data. We love data, or we collect data. We use it to inform our decisions. We want to be data driven, literally data everything and our fiber of being when we're building product. So synthesis is a really important process in its own when it comes to building software. I'm not going to teach you, how to do those, in detail. You already know that, but really remembering that data synthesis is so important and drives our ideas. because it's telling us a story and what we need to be learning. It also helps us create and come up with ideas, both functionally, creatively, underneath the surface, all of the things to inform our decision making. And then lastly, can we use this data to continue? Because not all data is good data. I'm sure you've all had this experience when building software that data is, you can't trust it. And it is a really healthy part of the process to question your data in order to learn how to, from your customers and what they're doing, collecting the data, making sure it's right. Are those numbers correct? Use your intuition to make decisions on if the data is trustworthy. A great example that I had recently experienced with one of my teams was we saw numbers that were astronomical for our growth that didn't seem right. And while some of the people that are not really ingrained in the data saw it and they're so excited, I'm like, well, let's think about this, because we didn't push anything out. There was no new marketing. There was no, no new features that really should have built this. Did someone share it? Was there an influencer that was a part of this? That didn't make sense. So that's when you go in, you look at it. And then what we found was that one of the metrics was actually counting 2 times. So though the numbers were still awesome, it made me realize, oh, that's not true. And that actually impacts everything else down the line. So questioning your data should be a regular process that you have when you're building software. Your product is more dependent on software architecture than you think. Software architecture is the foundation of the build, and it helps us learn what can we actually achieve. So I have this under the iceberg because it's part of the process of prioritization. We're not going to talk about scoring methods or anything like that today, but it's just a reminder that software architecture will dictate our next steps and how we build. So the questions that you can ask yourself are, does this support the update that we want to make? Does the infrastructure exist? What teams will we need? Is this a back-end update that we can push, updates to our database and then users are served that information? Is this, only front end? What can we actually do with the interface that we have or the data that we have to build the interfaces to support it? Do we have existing APIs in front end? Because the best case scenario is when you come up with a new idea and you're like, oh, my developer already thought about that. I have all that information. Now let's just use it in a creative way. And then lastly, scale. So we're not going to talk about DevOps today, but it's really important to remember that scaling your infrastructure is actually a big part in building software and how to advance it to the next level of growth. So software architecture, just to bring home, is such a critical piece in your prioritization. So helping you with your features, fixes, or even new products. And as product managers, being able to effectively communicate your development with your development team is so important. I believe that bringing product development teams into the ideation session early is really important. I've worked with small teams, so I've had that opportunity to bring them in early. What I want to say is that I have built such strong relationship with developers. By the time I bring them in, show them my idea, they're able to give me ideas. Well, you can actually build it this way because we have the structure in this place and you can use that. They are going to know things about our information and our architecture build that I might not know. So it's an ever learning process. So what I would advise is that if you don't have a best buddy in the development team, find one. He or she will know things that you want to know, and then bring them in often. So bring them earlier on. They're not, you see these GIFs where they say designer creates this, developer passes this back, and it looks nothing like it. Well, things like that won't happen if we actually bring them in early on, because then it brings a cohesive energy to everything you're building. And we want to empower our developers. They have the knowledge that we want to have and vice versa. So treating your team, your cross-collaboration team as one unit with all the same information, you're not competing, and remembering that, then you're all better off. And so is your company and product. Okay, one of my favorite parts, probably because I'm a designer, is creating experiences that are memorable, enjoyable, and ultimately make customers' lives easier. Is the product development process. And product development is this entire process, but in this specific instance, I'm referring to the creative portion, really working with designers, and also building it with your developers. Product managers are the glue of our departments. So we have our goals, we are working with the executives, we understand what our mission is, and we need to be able to communicate to every team what those are so everyone is aligned. In order to do that, we need to be able to push our designers to new creative solutions. Designers typically work in design systems. If you're a smaller company, you might not have design systems yet, but if you have a great designer, then they're thinking about a system and how to be efficient in working around building products. But what I mean by pushing boundaries is if it's not in the system, you don't have to, you can build something new. Because if you have, don't think about the system, think about how can I really push the boundary on creating an experience that brings my customer enjoyment, and how can I do that with the interface that they interact with. And then don't worry about the system, because you'll probably create something that can then be added to the system. So think about pushing the boundaries of your product designers, because they want to do that. They're creative individuals. I also want to tell you to bring design as the unification between product and development. Designers have this unique way of hearing and visualizing what founders or teams want, and being able to put that in literal form. And I find that such a skill that not all product designers have, but they might be able to grow into it. Is really, I call it the magic wand. The product is developed. The product manager might say, I want this product. Oftentimes when I'm working with a founder, I will close my eyes like this, and I do a Rain Man activity in the background where I'm like, okay, I hear what you want. I am now putting it into these compartments in my vision. So then, okay, now I have this base understanding of what you need. And it might not actually be what they thought. But that's what's beautiful about designers, is that they can take your words, put it in a visual, and then blow your mind in a way. They can show you, oh, these are a great example of how I can push it and show my customers how to interact with it. Because the designers actually are very similar to product managers. They need to know how the APIs work and how the data interacts between other pieces in your software. So lean on them to come up with these ideas and help product management and developers come into unification. And I don't need to tell you this, but test all of your stuff, collect the feedback, and go again. And lastly, as you all know, failure is inevitable. We will all fail. Our product could flop, our feature could flop. That plus minus button that I thought for Target would be great for me will probably flop for hundreds of thousands of people. But you have to fail to get better and learn have that growth mindset to really improve on your processes. Build, ship, iterate, repeat. I say this all the time. It's not about perfection. It's about iterating. It's about getting to the next phase and then improving on your situation. So test everything, improve on it, build, and ship again. The creativity meets function. I sort of mentioned this already, but really product management is the bridge between creativity and function. And we have to be the bridge between those two to create unique experiences, to come up with requirements that, are unique. Okay, it's poll time. Moria, you want to come in here with me?
I'm right here with you.
All right, so I want to know, does your team have a process in place for building new features or products? You're working on it. We're all type A for some features, but not all. And what the hell is process?
This is a great question. Leaguers in the audience, please go ahead and let us know A, B, C, or D. We want to get to know you better and want to get to know your challenges better. So tell us about processes in your team. How is it that you build a new feature or a new product? Let us know in the comments. First, share the letter, and if you want to tell us more, so please go ahead and do so. So we already have Audrey in the audience saying C. which means, let's put,
For some
yes,
features, but not all.
that's correct. We
Eddie
have
says you're working
Eddie.
on this.
I'm work.
Awesome.
Yeah, keep the answers coming. We have
What is process? I love that. 3 in a row.
we
That's
have
great.
wonderful comments here in the audience. Thank you everyone for commenting. Keep it coming. The stage, the floor is all
Yes.
yours. But
It's
we'll
great to hear that not like this is for expert product managers. So it's really awesome to see that not everyone has their shit together, because who does? And we're always just looking to improve. So thank you for being honest in these responses, because it just helps us realize that we're not alone and we're trying to also get our, our stuff together. So, and the final piece, which we are going to be talking about this entire process, is shipping to your customers and building that experience. So what's next? Great. Data. Your data is your secret sauce. That is going to help you build unique and memorable experiences. So how do we use it effectively? Good data should be leveraged to support our hypotheses and creative solutions. If we're doing that, then we're simplifying our process for synthesizing the data. We're bringing our team together. That's better alignment. We're prioritizing more effectively. And ultimately, we're being more productive. So questioning that data in terms of the process, and then bringing that good data at the end where you feel strong about what it's telling you, is going to improve everything. And if you have that in line in your process, then you're going to be able to leverage it to personalize your experiences. So I read in McKinsey & Co. that 71% of customers want businesses to provide personal experiences, and 76% of them are frustrated if it's not personalized. So when people are interacting with your software, they expect it to be built for them and them alone. How do we actually do that? Well, one, we meet our customers with empathy. We have to put ourselves in their shoes and understand their pain points. And we have to create, experiences that are memorable, that keeps them coming back. I use that Target experience because everyone's probably aware of who Target is. They make my life easier, and they're using my data to determine, what is the best experience for me. So how do we do that at the macro level? Use data to work with you, not against you. I want to bring back that example that I talked about in YNAB. So if you recall, there was 10 steps every time I had to authorize. I have 4 bank accounts. That's 40 steps, 40 taps that I have to get there in order to get to the end. So, and then you see all the customer data. I don't even know if they're collecting all of that. Those are just data points that I would assume they're collecting on me, so that they can build something interactive. And how do I use those tools, all that data, for building software? So again, this is not a specific model. It's just for presentation purposes. But if we're able to use some type of model to learn about our customers, then we can create more customized experiences. So in this example, I want them to use my data to see what my rate of, I guess, if I'm fraudulent behavior or not, and give me a result. So in this example, I'm going to do automatic reauthorize or manual reauthorize. So these are the 2 steps before I get to the whole authorization. So the user taps on reauthorize, this blue button. And then as soon as I do that, I get here. Okay, how can I make a better experience for me so I don't have to tap 40 times? In this example, again, this is presentation purposes only. I don't have their data, but this is an example of how we can improve the experience. So my suggestion would be add a step or a CTA with an existing step. And in here, what I want to do is add an authorization section. So it keeps your account secure. What is the most secure method that we're aware of? Facial recognition. If I tap facial recognition, scan my face, automatically reauthorize all my accounts. Now, I don't know if the issue with this software is because of YNAB or if it's because of Plaid. There's some kind of disconnect between the two. I don't know which one is the source, but this is just an example of how we can improve experiences with one simple addition. And this is probably like a 1 sprint worth of energy. So creating customer frictionless experience is important. So when I'm talking about that example, I want to create less friction for me, of course, but for all of the customers as well, because we don't want them to have that frustrating experience. Because what happens is I'm married to YNAB, but if I wasn't, I would drop them. I would be like, this isn't worth it. But I have 6 years of data in there that I'm not worth. I'm not going to drop it. I'm sucking it up and saying, okay, I'll just send a note to customer support a few times, and they will not know what I'm saying. And then maybe one day I'll email the CTO and just be like, hey, can you fix this? This is ridiculous. And I've been a customer for 6 years. So communication is really important too. Okay, so let's push the boundaries a little bit. Personas are an archaic way of thinking. I'm very curious who was like, what do you mean by that? So a little history. In my career in the past 3 to 4 years, closer to 5 years, I've been working in machine learning software. I even built a software with a team that I used to work with full time. It's called Savvy AI. And I bring that up because it has shaped my entire way of thinking about data and personas. And it actually makes me believe that personas are completely archaic. And why? Originally, they were creating personas were created to help creators build funnels, really segmentation, so that maybe you had 3 personas and you wanted them to go down these specific journeys. Well, the problem with that is, yes, it gets maybe 75% of your users, but they pigeonhole your customers. So machine learning changes that completely, which is what I love about it. So in this example, it actually doesn't segment them in one route. It gives them all these points of interaction. So I personally believe that machine learning is going to make segmentation obsolete. I would be lying to you if I said I'm not using segmentation. I absolutely am. I work with the marketing team and we build segments for our email campaigns. Like, we are targeting very specific users using segmentation logic. But in the future, I anticipate that all of those software tools that we're using, Klaviyo is my great example in this case, in my most recent one, is that they will probably start to put in machine learning to learn about all of your profiles and then figure out which campaign they should do. And then taking the next step, maybe they'll actually recommend the content based on your history of what you should be sharing to them. Because ultimately our goal is to get more conversions, right? And they want to help us do that. So I do believe that segmentation will be obsolete in the future. We're not there yet, but I am starting to see that adoption with other pieces of software. Let's go through an example. A lot of software has like create an account, yes, and then they have an onboarding flow. So I'm using this example because it's very common, and probably a lot of yours have different onboarding flows, whether it's for registration or like getting started or like a tool that you want to use. Onboarding tools in this example are typically going down a decision tree, and they use a decision tree to say, okay, this person clicked here, entered, and now they're going to go down these steps. And sometimes it's even more basic in that. And it's all completely linear, where every single person gets the exact same step, whether that's 5 or 10 steps. And at the end, then they're like, oh, here's your dashboard. It's so pretty. Let's see what you do with it now. And then people are like, what the hell? Like, I don't know how to actually use your tool. And that stuff didn't tell me anything. And then if you're like me, I'm a discoverable learner. So I will just like exit out. Like, I don't want to hear what you have to say about the basics of your software. Let me just X out. I want to click everything myself and learn and figure out what I can do. So with machine learning, again, example model, there are so many models, over a dozen that you can use, more than that, that you can use. This again is just for presentation purposes, but with machine learning, you can actually make sure that your stages of the onboarding becomes personal to them, but it also makes it a little bit more complex. So onboarding experiences are catering to specifically to you, only if the data is working correctly. All right, so poll time. Before we move further with an example, are you currently using machine learning to create experiences? I want to know if yes, you're creating them. Not yet, but hoping to soon. It's on your roadmap, whether that's 6 months or 3 years, it doesn't matter. Or it's not in your current plans, you don't have bandwidth. Moira, can you help here?
I'm right here with you, calling all the layers in the audience to type in, and let's see, we already have Audrey joining here with this. It's not in our current plans. Yuval, it's on the roadmap. Eran, with it's not in our current plans. Keep it
Awesome.
coming, leaders.
Yes, let's see it.
So we have
So-
2 D's and 1 C at the moment.
Yes, keep it coming. Lots of C's. It's on the roadmap. I'm wondering if, the generative AI boom in 2023 forced a lot of you to put it into your roadmap. Because I think 2023 was a year of scaring product managers. Oh crap, I'm behind. You're not behind. I think what you see in the mainstream, yes, there's so much going on, but there are also priorities. So building with machine learning is not easy, and being thoughtful about it is really important. So I love these responses, and keep it coming. All right, let's continue. So building software that feels like it's made for you is the new norm. Okay, how do we accomplish this level of personalization? I'm going to go through a very specific example with that onboarding. So my goal here in this example is I want the user to complete their registration and start using the software within 24 hours of signing up. How am I going to do that? So the simple onboarding example, I'm using basic just for presentation purposes. We have our landing page where it says you're creating an account or signing in, the registration step 1, step 2, and then you get into the onboarding. And then over here is that goal that I told you I wanted them to meet. I want them to be able to start using the software. So in this example, it's creating something. What do I want to do here? On step 2 and step 3, collect this data. So I want to know what their name and email is. I also want to know their team size, their role, years of experience, because that will change the dynamics of what I can show a user in my experiences. So I'm going to combine those 6 data labels so that it informs my decision in the dashboard. And then I'm going to use machine learning to customize that experience. So where I might be 10 or 12 years of experience as a product leader, team size of 3, because I work with super small companies, I'm going to go down a different route than a product manager of 3 years experience working at a Fortune 500 company that does not make decisions in the company, but does use the products. So your experience versus mine is going to be so different. And that's what's the beauty of machine learning and personalization. It basically amplifies the entire experience. So if you're doing it right, personalization will impact your business. So according to McKinsey & Co., 50% of customers are reduction in acquisition costs, 15% lift in revenue, and 30% increase in marketing return on investment. Those are big numbers. So when you're thinking about how to personalize your products and using what the customers want to feel special when they're using your software, these are numbers that will help your own business basically get bigger, grow, and do well. So personalization driven by machine learning can both improve and complicate user flows. I say that because the more flows or opportunities, the more results and the more screens you have to design, the more edge cases that are available. So I want to talk about standard edge cases versus machine learning edge cases. If you're all familiar with writing product requirements, you know that your edge cases in a non-machine learning capacity takes up a lot of your work, in some cases up to 50%. You might have the standard workflow that you want customers to go to, but if there's 5 steps, every one of those steps actually has an edge case. And then you combine them. So you multiply all these situations where you have to come up with, well, how am I going to treat that? So edge cases is really important, and being able to solve for all those, because it happens more than not. And then these are just some simple examples, like abandoned during the questionnaire, completes registration, registered twice and then got logged out. So they're in the database 2 times. They forgot their password, or they started the onboarding and didn't complete it. So these are some examples of what can happen in a standard edge case. But then if you add machine learning to it, that actually becomes like multiples. So if I, as one flow and a linear process, and I have all of those, imagine if each one of those processes, those 5 steps, now have 3 steps to each one, because you're learning how to get the person through the funnel. That's that many more steps that you have to consider. Now, you don't have to personalize all of them. You can have them go down a specific funnel, each one, but it's important to think about the holistic user experience. So machine learning actually does complicate things. The team has to be able to have the bandwidth to use them, and it's not that simple. So just calling out this process again, it adds more opportunity, but again, it adds more edge cases as well. So after my advice when and building software that creates machine learning and also working with software that doesn't create it but adds it on top, my advice is that you should have your basic level of user flow solidified, seeing good data come through and customer feedback that you're happy with before you layer machine learning on top of it. Now, there are the combative part of that is, or devil's advocate is that, well, I can just build machine learning as the software. Yes, you can. You absolutely can do that. That is an amazing opportunity. It also takes a lot of work. And if you're starting out in a small company, it's really hard to do that because you haven't validated your product yet, and you don't even know if you've reached product market fit. So there's two sides to every coin. But if you are working on a small company and you don't have the bandwidth, I always advise start at the basics first, learn what your customers are doing. And then if it's worth it and you're seeing positive reactions, then test it. And then I also say, if you're just experimenting and you don't have that much experience with, if you're experimenting with that, you don't have experience with building ML, start in low risk areas. So there are a few sections that you can do it in that are low risk. My first one is recommendations of blog posts and an email campaign. I am an avid listener to the In-Depth podcast by First Round Capital. It has podcasts with the product leaders of every company that they have leaders on. So for example, Loom and Notion, Segment, etc. Those leaders that built those products are talking about really tactical advice. And I listen to every one of them. I would love to have then additional content from them to say, hey, you listen to all of these. These are the recommendation blog posts that I would recommend that you read. Now, because I listen to all of them, if they don't give me the right recommendations, I'm not going to be mad because I want them all. So it's low risk and it's still informational, but they can also use that to amplify their experiences. Payment method suggestion. So maybe the software picks up that you're an Apple Pay user. Display that one first over something else. Profile display content, super low risk. Like, do I show the picture or do I don't show the picture? Things like that don't have an impact on your results of a product really, but allows you to start testing out how to use it. Okay, we have another challenge. This is our last one. What is one area in your product that you can greatly improve the process using machine learning? Let's hear it. I want to hear your ideas.
Give us all the juicy stuff, leaguers, all the things that you would like for everyone on your team to start doing tomorrow.
Yes. Like, how can you use this practical advice to push it into your software to start learning, what's going on with your customers? And is it even worth the effort? Because it's implementation is tough. There are softwares that are low implementation, but definitely interested in hearing your ideas. And then lastly, just while we're hearing these results come through and what people are thinking about, I just want to bring back home that combining customer feedback, process, again, type A, and innovation will amplify your customer experiences so that you can truly master them. There's a lot of work that goes involved in that whole thing, but that is our job as product managers. And I think the combination really makes an impact on your results. So thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about this.
The pleasure is mine, but we're not done yet. We are not done yet. We're still here to answer a few questions because we already have fantastic questions submitted in the
let's hear them
from the audience. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we're starting with this one. It was submitted by a LinkedIn user asking, what's the framework to approach for customer journey? So if they are just starting and they want to think about it as more of a framework than a process, what
I guess in the term definition of framework, in terms the difference between process is confusing to me, but My advice would be to start collecting feedback on qualitative interviews. So there are a lot of different customer feedback possibilities, or surveys, calls, there's user groups, there's focus groups, etc. The best piece that you can do is a user interview. And I say that because you can do like 5 to 10 user interviews for around 30 minutes each and get true qualitative data that can help you understand how to move forward. There are methods to asking the right questions. The Mom Test, I was just recommended that book. It's a super fast read. It took me under 3 hours. I can't remember his name, the author, but the Mom Test was asked like just so good in teaching you how to ask the right questions. It gives you the before and after. So I definitely recommend that book in terms of user interviews.
This is fantastic. We're moving on to another question. This one comes from Audrey, and she's asking, how do you know where the journey actually starts? So, for example,
the first point of interaction. Yeah. Okay. So a customer interacts before they actually purchase. I think the data recently was saying that there was 250 touch points before they actually purchase. And in order to start, you have to figure out what's the first way that they're going to interact. And that's not one spot. That could be many spots. So that journey actually is not one location. And yes, an ad or a search result, but those are typical that they're following your keywords and what you're searching for. So the touch point is the first one that you see. And then the journeys are endless now because there's so many platforms that people can interact. So there's email, there's social, there's ads, like there's brick and mortar, there's so many places. So there's no one answer to that, but just being aware of where they're interacting with it and treating them uniquely.
Absolutely. We have other fantastic ones. Ron is here asking, how personalization actually look like when we're talking about B2B?
Yeah, so I actually worked in B2B for a long time, and personalization for me was really about the experience when I was building experiences for my customers. So in order to, that actual onboarding example is actually a great one because that applies to B2C and B2B. If you go to a platform, trying to come up with an example, say HubSpot, everyone's familiar with HubSpot. I don't know if they do this, I'm just using it for example, but when you log in, HubSpot solves for so many things. They have actual different software tools embedded into one conglomerate. And B2B for that experience would be, I'm coming because I'm a marketer and I want to learn how to build funnels. That experience should be unique to that scenario. So learn about me as a marketer, rather than as a product manager, I could go in there to say, well, I actually need to build videos to put out content in an email flow with my marketing team. My experience might be different because you're collecting the data. So if you think about them as the same, but just treat them in the macro level of your software, you can still personalize.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm calling everyone in the audience to keep submitting the questions because we have wonderful questions here, but we want more of them. So keep them coming. Audrey is here with another question asking, could you explain meet customers where they are at?
Again? Yes. The Target example is the best one because it's me. They are meeting me at my drive up. They know that I need to order stuff fast and get on the road to take care of my family. So they're meeting me where I'm at, literally at curbside pickup and saying, do you need coffee? Yes, I need coffee. That is meeting customers where they're at, knowing their journey so that it doesn't stop. And then you keep coming back for more.
I love that. And by the way, it's going back to the personas versus segmentation, because this is not just about that age woman with that many kids who buys whatever it is. This often it's about, she likes coffee and she wants us to serve her coffee.
Yes.
So yes. And she wants it that minute. Yeah.
Or I'm like the college girl that says, I want to go buy my clothes I'm starting school and I love my pumpkin spice latte. Meet me where I'm at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Iran is here with a comment just on that, saying that if we use the information that the user is willing to share,
yes,
this can actually be biased. And there was a beautiful comment here, by the way, from Iterate, I think, in the audience saying, hey, by the way, personas are biased as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's actually why I really love machine learning, because if you're transparent about what you're collecting, there's privacy across the board that you have to select into. But and when you're building machine learning, a lot of people are probably familiar with the black box of decision making. I mean, Apple got sued. Have you ever heard about this years ago when a man and a woman, married couple, went to go apply for the Apple card, and it gave the man a higher credit limit, and they got sued. Apple got sued for that because they didn't know why. So if you are able to build machine learning and transparent models, like with governance, so that it's not biased, then that's the best way. It's not easy. I built a software that does this, and it literally took years to come up with how do we do this. It's not easy. Not everyone is doing it yet, but there are now laws in place that are forcing this on software tools that are building it. So yes, it's biased. Anything it can be, depending how you look at it, but it's transparency is key.
But we should say something here, that oftentimes, because like it's so much of a clickbait, people like to say that algorithms or machine learning or NLP, by the way, is gender biased. But actually, we should divide these cases, we should segment this into two cases where the data itself is biased, or when the training is biased. Okay. And we need to segment the two cases, and then we can act upon it in a different way as product managers. But it's not that the algorithm, it's not even an algorithm, but it's not the model, okay, itself that is biased.
The inputs.
Exactly.
Yes. So one thing that you can do is, when you're collecting data, collect data that doesn't actually give any PII, obviously, but things that are biased in general, remove them from your modeling. You get there's software out there that lets you choose what inputs you want. And like the one that I was talking about, Savvy, I know I keep talking about it because I built it, but or my team built it, but it shows you which of those inputs are actually making the model work. And what we learned early on, before we even had customers, was that there are pieces of information that you don't want to be adding all together. So the inputs are really key on who's thinking about it and who's making the decisions to add that data, really.
Absolutely. And then you just have to choose between how fast is the reaction and how much of information you put into it, and then you combine the delta there, and it's like it's getting nerdy, which I love. I love this to be like a different session. But what I want to say, and thank you for allowing me to say that, and making this even stronger, we can fix that.
Yes.
It's not that the model is biased, it's that our society is biased, and we just train the models this way. So much can be done. So thank you very much, Nomiki, for that. Audrey is here asking any tool recommendations for product managers that are tired of Google Analytics.
So I personally do not love the new update to GA. I feel like it's so conceptual that it gives us less information on the metrics for us to tell the story ourselves. It's sort of trying to tell the story for us. So I obviously use it. But what I have done, I've used this tool called Looker. You might be familiar with it. And I've created our own data to tell my own story in another way that's visual. So I use that tool. I don't think it's the best one, but it gives us insights into how we can model our own data to the way that it's going to work for us, if that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a beautiful question here from Ruben. It's a little long, so I'm going to make it shorter. Are you familiar with a tool that can streamline and optimize communication channels when we have multiple omni-channel communications, to improve the overall user journey by ensuring consistent, personalized, and timely engaging?
I just heard of one yesterday, but I haven't used it myself to really talk about it. I don't really have one. I've had to use multiple ones for email. I love Klaviyo. I do think it can be better, but it is the market leader. in terms of messaging. I've used customer.io for transactional and behavioral data for messaging, in-app, email, etc. I don't have a favorite tool there. I would have to work with my marketing team to ask them their feedback. But yeah, those are the two that I'm using that are doing the job pretty well for me right now.
Well, if it's memorable and you remember that, that's probably a good sign. Last question comes from Subrata. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. If not, please forgive me in advance. Can A/B testing be done between personas and segmentations to check biases?
I can't say that I've done it to check bias specifically. I've really used A/B testing for optimizations. My goal, I think you can choose goals of what you want the metrics to track. I'm sure there is a way to do that, but the way that I use it is not to check that. So I don't have that advice for you.
That's more than fine. I had the best time
here. Thank you guys. Thank you for all those good questions.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you very much for everyone in the audience who participated and shared and commented and took part in the polls and everything else. So thank you very much. May I ask you to, I'm going to put it in a different way. May I challenge you?
Yes, challenge me. Let's do it.
That's the spirit. Of all the things mentioned here today, Nomiki, what is the one thing that you would like everyone in the audience to remember tomorrow going to the office and start doing differently?
I would challenge you to see what your data is telling you to take the next step. I think product managers sometimes get comfortable because there's so much work involved that we forget to push our boundaries because there's so much day to day. So I would take this presentation talking about personalization to machine learning and figure out how can I challenge myself in the product or feature I'm working on to take it to the next level and maybe present it to leadership and get their thoughts.
Good one. I love that very much. Nomiki Petrolla, I had an amazing time having you on our stage. Can't wait for the next time. Thank you for all the tips, the tricks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I had the best time. Everyone in the audience, keep joining us. Practical Wednesday. And until then, have a fantastic day ahead. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.